So after 2 to 3 years of use, and especially last year where I sold all my camera gear and just used my Nikon Z30, there's a lot of things about this camera that has been giving me a lot of headache. And I'm like, man, this camera has been nothing but a pain in the chicken butt. So as a primary content creator, I use this camera for my main podcast recordings. One thing about the Nikon Z30 is its ability to continuously record. So as long as I have my camera have a fully charged battery, it can record nonstop as long as the battery is still alive. And the biggest gripe number one, these EL25 batteries, they last you about an hour, assuming that you're in cold temperatures. I moved to Vietnam. When I record 4K nonstop, these batteries, I will eat through them. So like in an hour and a half recording of video, 4K 30, 4K 25, the battery life is not good with this camera. This is because of the next issue I'm talking about, battery life and overheating. There isn't a day where I step out of Vietnam and the camera records and then overheats. And you know, with these Nikon cameras, when you record in 4K, overheats and then it shuts down, which is not something that you want. For a camera that is marketed towards the consumer, that you can use this for streaming, use this for video recording, having something like overheating issues is a big factor that you want to consider when purchasing this camera. And the last thing of why this camera, and I'll probably be getting rid of it in the near future, or maybe just dealing with the headache, is its third-party compatibility lenses. I have a video where I recorded and used the Nikon Viltrox 13mm 1.4, beautiful bokeh, but sometimes the lens, even if I update all the software, it can't read the lens sometimes. And the f-stop and aperture, it does not read. And if you have used this camera and this combo, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You only have to wait 5-10 minutes with the camera on, and then the information from the lens will sync up to the camera itself. That is annoyance number 3. The next thing that I have noticed when using the Nikon Z30 is autofocus. When you're a content creator, and this camera was marketed towards content creators, there's no product feature, right? Product focus. So if I held this up, it's still on eye detection, right? Unless I center focus, right, and cover my face, then you can focus. But the camera itself does not know that, hey, I want you to focus on this and not my face. So I hold it to the camera, it's still eye detection. So autofocus issues, where you're looking at Sony, right, which is the best, hands down, autofocus. When you're a content creator, you are in front of the camera. You are also your camera person. So when you have autofocus issues, it's something to be concerning, especially if you have an ND filter and autofocus, and you want to, like, you're reviewing stuff, right? You're getting brand deals. You focus on, hey, look at this, all right? Right now it's doing a good job because I'm indoors, but the next gripe is outdoor run and gun. So if you consider heating, right? So anywhere above 30 degrees Celsius, what is that, like 70, 80 Fahrenheit? Your camera is going to be in big trouble. And the last things is there's no audio monitoring. And those are my gripes with Nikon, using the Nikon Z30. And of course, I thought that, I'm not going to miss the viewfinder. I miss the viewfinder. Using this out and about for taking photos and video, you can't really see much. You're using on the LCD screen, you have to bump up the brightness to +3, reduces more battery. And the battery was so bad with these that Nikon had to create a Nikon ENEL 25 A battery, which means it's a 10% usage, a little bit more capacity. I'm like, wait, that reminds me of like the days where I used my Nikon D5200, and they had the black battery and the gray battery. And you would think, I don't know if they're doing this on purpose, but if your battery capacity is so bad, why don't you increase the capacity to begin with and not create these ENEL25A batteries, which I'll also link in the description, where I think is really dumb. Like, when can we have a camera where it's like, okay, all right, like the Sonys or the Panasonics, where I have a battery, this will last me an hour and a half, 2 hours, doesn't matter what temperature it is. But the Nikon Z30 struggles with heat regulating. There's no built-in fan with the camera. And of course, you already know there is no IBIS. And those are the things where I'm like, using this Nikon Z30 for a year, man, I just want to cry and pull my hair out. But I wanted to prove that you can use this camera as your A cam and you won't have much issues with it, but I've run into a lot of issues. Looking forward, I might upgrade to the Nikon Z50 Mark II, which solves a lot of those problems, hopefully, especially when it comes to overheating, knock on wood. Z50 Mark I and Z30 is known for overheating. Hopefully, the camera that I'll upgrade to, I'm looking at the Z50 Mark II, has better heating regulating overall, so I don't run into overheating. Overall, the quality and the color is fine for 4K social media content. You're not worried about doing weddings or any client work. This is still the $1,000 mark camera that you want to use. I would recommend you avoid this camera at all costs, Nikon Z30, and look towards something like the Nikon Z50 Mark II. You want to look at the Sony ZVE1 or even the Canon M50 still Mark II. That's the thoughts on my Nikon Z50, the Z30, and that's the thoughts of my Nikon Z30. If you actually want to use and see all the footages that I've used on this camera, link in the description to my other channel, my personal channel, Broke the Habit, where you can see every single shot that I use is on this Nikon Z30 with the Viltrox 13mm 1.4 lens. I want to make this video because if you want to consider using the Nikon Z30 as your A-cam, content creation, I think it's still very niche, very rare, but it's something to consider. You're like, should I use this as an A-cam? Look, in hindsight, probably not. Probably a decent B-cam, and I'll be looking to upgrade in the near future to the Z50 Mark II. Those are my overall thoughts on it. If you want to also check out all the products that I mentioned, link is in the description below. My name is Peter. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective, where we all start with nothing, but you can always create something. Cheers, guys.